Hello, BookTube. Well, once again, I have a mail haul for you. I'm saying once again, but you haven't seen them. There was a pile of mail, and I did an attempt at a video yesterday. I took a small fraction of that pile, about 10 packages, and started to open them on camera, and then realized that I had forgotten to turn on the camera. So that was, can't redo a mail haul, so that was done. And then a little while later, I wandered away from the idea. In fact, I physically wandered away from the camera. And then when I remembered that the world existed and that BookTube existed, I came back to give it another try. And I remembered to turn the camera on. I opened the first package and started reading. I started reading the book. I totally forgot that the camera was running. You'll have to be a little indulgent. I will be back into focus relatively soon. It will happen. It's always rocky. It's much rockier this year than in some recent years. I'm not quite sure why. But nevertheless, I have a mail haul for you. We're going to try this. I'm going to try this and hope that it works. I'm going to use a smaller number of packages. And I'm going to try to stay on focus. So let's begin and see if we can't make this work. I came back to BookTube and was looking all around, and of course I was looking at the whole breadth of BookTube, not just BookTube 2.0, not just this, what I consider to be this slightly friendlier atmosphere, this little neighborhood that we have, but everywhere on BookTube, including the very bigger BookTube channels. And I was noticing a trend. I was starting to look around on them. I was starting to look around on BookTube Twitter and BookTube Instagram. I was starting to see a trend of larger channels saying that the book haul is over. The book haul is done. I don't know if that's filtered down or if that's common, but one way or another, as every time that a movement like that begins to coalesce on BookTube, I have to claim an exemption for this channel. I have to plead an exemption for this channel. I agree with the broader criticisms that are made of book hauls in general, that they add a nakedly commercial element to BookTube, and when that's not what this is about, and I agree that's not what this is about, that they encourage a magpie kind of mind frame where it's just, ooh, look at this pretty shiny thing, but that you never actually read the book, and in many, many cases, it shows up months later in pristine condition on an unhaul. It was where it was just a bauble coming through and nothing mattered about it. I agree that those concerns are real, and I agree that book hauls that are done like that are bad, especially as an introduction to new people. BookTube is growing every day. There are new people added every day, and those new people seeing that will think, well, they'll think two things. One, I don't have the money to be acquiring mountains of new books just to make a video. And also, when I get a new book, it's the product of a lot of thought, and I tend to keep it. I'm not going to get rid of it either. I'm going to pay attention to it. I might be working on it for months. We want to encourage that kind of thinking on BookTube, not discourage it. So I agree that the way a lot of book hauls are done, at least the way they were done at the beginning years of BookTube, might be something that you'd want to call an end to. I want to ask for an exception on this channel because my book hauls are not like that. I get a lot of books in the mail. I show you a lot of new things, but I don't think if someone has watched a couple of 2 or 3 videos on this channel, I don't think it would be possible, even for someone who doesn't like the look of my face. I don't think it would be possible for anyone to accuse me of not being engaged with the books I get in the mail or the books I get at bookstores. I don't think there's anybody who could accuse me of that. I am not only obviously enthused by the things that I get, and not only do I then read them, but in the case of new books, I also leave an ample record behind, a written record in the public record that I have engaged with these books. So I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, because those of you who have been watching my videos will know that you know, this is my whole life. So I know that I don't probably need to worry about it as much as I am. Nevertheless, whenever the mob starts to bay for the head of book hauls on a pike, I always want to ask for an exception. We do book hauls on this channel, but it's very different. It's very different from the abuses of book hauls. So there you go. That's my prefatory plea for an exception. But anyway, let's see what we have here. Okay, great. Oh, I think I asked for this. Okay, the exact sequence of events here is going to be a little fuzzy for the first few days. So you just have to beware. I think I asked for this. And I think I asked for it for a particular reason that has to do with the Iliad, even though you wouldn't think that. This is by Julie Berry, and it's called Lovely War. And it's a war, as you can see, it's a World War II novel, so you wouldn't think that would have anything to do with the Iliad. But it does. Let me read you this. Because this sounds like a lot of fun. Let me get to... Let me get to the, okay, are we gonna, okay, all right, here we go. All right, at the height of World War II, immortals Ares and Aphrodite are caught by the latter's jealous husband in a Manhattan hotel room, locked in a forbidden embrace. Charged with justifying her actions, Aphrodite spins a tale that took place in Europe some 25 years earlier, the story of 4 mortals whose lives entwined in the crucible of World War I. They are Hazel, James, Aubrey, and Colette, a classical pianist from London, a British would-be architect turned soldier, a Harlem-born ragtime genius in the U.S. Army, and a Belgian orphan with a gorgeous voice and a devastating past. Their story, filled with hope and heartbreak, prejudice and passion, reveals that, though war is a formidable force, it's no match for the transcendent power of love, with a capital L. And that story... Sure, I'm sure that I will enjoy a World War I story about a quartet of mismatched heroes. But the gimmick for that story, the framing sequence, Mars and Venus caught in flagrante delicto by Vulcan, is straight out of the Iliad. And that's just irresistible. So I'm hoping that the sort of the middle cream filling, the story in the middle, will entertain me as much as the framing work does. What have we got here? December 1942, in a swanky Manhattan hotel. A man and woman enter the lobby and approach the front desk. All eyes follow their progress across the Persian rugs. The man, colossal in build and stern of jaw, wears a fedora tipped low over his brow. When he reaches for a billfold from the inside pocket of his double-breasted pinstripe suit, the panicky thought occurs to the desk clerk that perhaps the man is reaching for a pistol. His black and white wingtip shoes don't look jaunty, they look dangerous. He makes half the men nervous and the other half angry. He's the kind of man who could crush you beneath his feet, and he knows it. But oh, is he beautiful. His lady friend even more so. She wears a tailored, belted suit of deep blue that fits her better than skin. Her figure is the sort that makes other women give up altogether. From the waves of dark hair, coiffed and coiled under her cocktail hat, to her wide, long-lashed eyes peering out through its coy little veil of black netting, down to the seams of her silk stockings, disappearing into her Italian leather pumps, she is arrestingly beautiful, impossibly perfect. The scent of her perfume spreads its soft fingers across the lobby. Everyone there, man and woman, surrenders to awareness of her. The tall man knows this, and he's none too pleased about it. He riffles a pile of bills under the nose of the stammering clerk and snatches a key out of his unprotesting hand. They make their way through the lobby, with the man urging the woman forward as though time won't keep, while she takes every step as though she'd invented the art of walking. Okay, I think we know who those two are. All right. Okay, so wonderful. That I am involved. Let's go on to the next one here. We're gonna try to make this video. I've tried and failed to make mail haul videos. We're gonna keep going here, and I made it so that every one of these tries ends in a box, but who knows if we'll get there. I might stop reading. Okay. Okay, it's another classic of this channel. Somebody those of you who are new to the channel, my little schnauzer, free to be, likes to destroy my mail. Sometimes she jumps for it on camera, but anyway, let's see what we have here. Okay, this is from Penguin. This comes out at the end of January. It's by Benedict Wells, and it's called The End of Loneliness. So is this a paperback original, or is this a reprint of some kind? Penguin Books. Okay, it came out in the UK in 2018, copyright 2016. In 2016, German novelist Benedict Wells captured the hearts of readers across Europe with his captivating, tender, and beautifully rendered novel, The End of Loneliness. Okay, so this is a translation. Yes, translated by Charlotte Collins. Sorry, I'm getting the mechanics wrong. I'm still new to this. After spending over 80 weeks, sorry, good Lord, what an accomplishment, on Germany's bestseller list, it won the prestigious European Union Prize for Literature and was selected as German Independent Booksellers' favorite of 2016. It has been since translated into 27 languages, and now Penguin Press is thrilled to introduce American readers to a profoundly moving port of what can be lost and what can never be let go. Okay, so Penguin is bringing out the translation of this international hit in a paperback. All right, great. Do you want to say hi to people? Huh? Ooh. Here's everybody. Hi, everybody. Hello. Oh, hello. All right, let's keep going here. We're making progress here. This is good. Let's see what this next one is. Yes? No? Oh, jump for the people, Frida. There you go. Okay, this next one is from the folks at Harvard University Press, the very brainy folks at Harvard University Press. This came out in 2018. This is Slave Law and the Politics of Resistance in the Early Atlantic World. The success of the English colony of Barbados in the 17th century, with its lucrative sugar plantations and enslaved African labor, spawned the slave societies of Jamaica in the Western Caribbean and South Carolina on the American mainland. These became the most prosperous slave economies in the Anglo-American Atlantic, despite the rise of enlightened ideas of liberty and human dignity. And this book reveals the political dynamic between slave resistance and slaveholders' power that marked the evolution of these societies. Okay, so this came out in the middle of December in 2018, which puts it off my radar for 2019. I'll read it, of course, but I wish I'd seen it earlier. that's a little odd. Let's move on. What have we got next? Some cardboard in your diet? You want some roughage? Yes. Okay. All right. Okay, this comes out in late January. This is the finished copy of something I think we saw on this channel before, The Suspect by Fiona Barton. I mentioned in 2018 that one of the trends I was seeing for 2019 was historical fiction. Boy, oh boy, has that only grown stronger. I think 2019 is going to be an unbelievable year for historical fiction. Don't know exactly why. Probably just random. But another thing I've noticed, another trend that I've noticed, is a lot of thrillers. A lot more thrillers than usual. I mean, it's a popular genre anyway, but I've noticed a lot more of those, and I'm thinking that means I need to pay more attention. Not that I don't anyway. I love a good thriller, and can't stand a bad one. Oh, I can't stand a bad one. Thrillers look on the surface like something that you could just sort of weekend in doing. That is absolutely not true. They require, as anyone who's ever tried to write one will attest, they require an enormous amount of concentrated effort. They are, if anything, more work-intensive than most other kinds of genres. So I cannot stand it any more than world-building science fiction. I cannot stand it when an author comes in and shows every sign of thinking they can do this as a left-handed exercise. So, but I confess, I have not read this book. I have had the advanced copy for a while, but it went away. I went away. So this is her debut. This is the author's debut. It was an instant international sensation when it was published in 2016. And now it's making its American appearance 3 years later. Oh no, I'm sorry. Sorry. Like I mentioned, I'm still getting back into the hang of doing this. It was The Widow that was her debut, and that was the huge success. This is her third novel, featuring fan favorite intrepid reporter Kate Waters. Let's see here. And so this has a lot of secondary material. Do we have a plot? After two girls go missing in Thailand during their gap year, I think we heard about this before, Kate receives a call from the police contact, who wants the media to help sound the alarm. Kate can't help but think of her son Jake, who ran off to Thailand after a rough patch in school and has barely been heard from since. When the story of the missing girls turns to tragedy, Kate flies to Thailand to investigate the potentially grisly crime. And I think we mentioned when I first got the advance copy of this that the two crimes are obviously going to be connected. That's kind of the way that thrillers work. I kind of wish in some ways that isn't how they work, because that's not how the real world works. But I don't think I read The Widow or the follow-up to The Widow. I think this will be my first Fiona Barton, and I need to get to it because it's a January book. Okay, so we'll just move on here. We're getting closer to the end, and we haven't had a disaster yet, so that's fantastic. Yes. Yes. Ooh. Oh, you're making a mess, baby bean. What do we got here? Oh. Oh, here. Did I give you that before I emptied it? I know, that's cruel of me. I did. There you go. I think this is a December release as well. Oh, no, this is February. We saw this already, though. This is edited by Sharon Hudgens, and it's Food on the Move. Dining in the legendary railway journeys of the world. This is the Finnish copy of a book that comes out in early February. All about the dining cars of great old trains, of great old railway services. Maybe I think a very specialized subject, but boy, oh boy, there are stories to tell. In this book, Sharon Hudgens gathers a crew of veteran train travelers to share their experiences aboard some of the most luxurious and delectably catered trains on Earth. From wine tastings on the lounge cars in South Africa's Blue Train, noted for its gold dust-infused windows, to dinners of regional specialties like sockeye salmon and Saskatoon pie aboard Canada's long-distance rails. Covering 9 railway journeys on 5 continents and featuring vintage and contemporary menus, recipes, and wealth of full-color illustrations, this book is a veritable ode to the cuisine of the rails. Fantastic. I've done a huge amount of travel on rails. I probably haven't done any of the swanky stuff that's highlighted in this book. But part of the reason that I will enjoy this, I'm sure, will be not so much the food as the echoes of the travels. That's great, though. Fantastic. And it's full of vintage illustrations of boy, that's great. All right, so that's the finished copy. And now we move on to, oh goodness. Oh, now we finish up with the box, but somebody has started on the box ahead of us. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to wait for these. Here, there you go. Oh, great, okay. All right, this is the finished copy. This comes out in January. No, early February. This comes out in February. This is by Christopher Clark, and it's called Time and Power. Visions of History in German Politics from the 30 Years' War to the Third Reich. And then we have a step of German figures. I know that some of you will be able to pick out who 2 of those are. Maybe 1 or 2 of you will be able to pick out who 3 of those are. I'd be willing to bet not many of you can pick out all 4 of those. But this is by the guy that did The Sleepwalkers, which is one of, I mean, there have been a million books on World War I and a million books on the start of World War I, how it began. And he wrote a book called The Sleepwalkers, which is one of the required books on that subject. Just so incredibly good. But I haven't read this one yet. I haven't, oh God. This groundbreaking book presents new perspectives on how the exercise of power is shaped by different notions of time. Acclaimed historian Christopher Clark draws on 4 key figures from German history to look at history through a temporal lens and asks how historical actors and their regimes embody unique conceptions of time. That reminds me of Time and Its Adversaries, another history book that we just recently got. We got it at the end of 2018. about the Seleucid Empire and how it tried to make the register and demarcation of time into a state weapon. A very brainy book that I got to it too late for it to be any part of any kind of year-end roundup. But I've been thinking about it ever since, so I might have to bring it back up on this channel. And this looks like it's more of the same, something to do with time. Okay, great. And this comes out in the first week of February, same as Food on the Move. So what did we do in these videos? We end with the pyramid, right? Because we got all the way to the end of this video without me wandering off. And that's great. So we end with a pyramid. So we have Food on the Move, about classic cuisine on the rails. We have Time and Power by Christopher Clark, one of those cases where a historian writes a book that is so good that you will now automatically read anything else they write. That's what Sleepwalkers was. So I love that. I love that when that happens. Then The Suspect by Fiona Barton, the author of The Widow, that probably, from the sound of it, a lot of you have probably read. Then Slave Law and Politics of Resistance in the Early Atlantic World by Edward Rugemer, a Harvard University Press title that once again has its subtitle as its title. The multi-word thumbnail description of the contents of a book is the subtitle of the book, not the title, but that's all right. Then Lovely War by Julie Berry, in which Ares and Aphrodite are caught in a hotel room by Hephaestus, Aphrodite's husband, and need to tell stories to get themselves out of it. And The End of Loneliness by Benedict Wells, which I'm going to have to research and see what there is to know about it. It's striking an awful familiar chord with me. Not so much as if I've read it, although this is the wrong time of year to ask me if I've read anything. In a few weeks, that will all be different. I will be fully coalesced. But I think I know about it, something about it. I don't know one way or another. I will figure it out. But anyway, so this actually was successful. so this is a return to a mail haul. So I guess I'll try, there'll be other videos. Maybe I'll do a couple more today. And that will mean that we are back up and running on this channel, which would be great after a number of failed attempts. So I'll wrap this up, but we'll be back. I feel confident in saying that now. Thank you, BookTube.